One. Good afternoon, everybody. Bobby Cleveland here, along with Representative JJ Humphrey with Oklahoma Correctional Professionals. We're finding things, JJ. It's not getting any better.
Bob, I just don't understand how in the world that the legislators, the governor, have not stepped in already with the Department of Corrections. I don't understand that. Hey, but Bob, I do want to say one thing. We put out a little message of what we're going to talk about today.
Right, right.
Bob, I know you'll find this hard to believe. You're going to be shocked, but I made a mistake. I was writing that out and made a mistake on that. And I got Tommy Sharp confused with what's the assistant director that you know what I'm saying? It's not assistant director. He's
Well, I'm told Tommy Sharp was the one that was speaking.
Yeah, and that's what I was told too. But I got the other guy that's the second or third highest guy. I always get them too.
I know you're talking about the guy, the police officer.
Yeah, the guy that was a police officer. Golly, I can't think of his name. But I always interchange him and Sharp. I don't know why I do
Well,
that.
you put Tommy Sharp on there.
Yeah, I put Sharp, but I was thinking about him because I said Sharp had not been a correctional officer, and I think Sharp has been a correctional officer. He's one of the few up there that actually has. I think he's been a correctional officer.
He made a mistake, yeah.
And he was boarding there at
OSP.
Yeah, he got fired there because he got a lot of problems.
Cover up stuff. Yeah, he gets fired there, and then he comes back in. Now he's one of the top dogs for Harpe.
Yeah, that is quite impressive, and I like again every time we've ever talked about Tommy Sharp, I always say that I like Tommy, but man, he just had some problems at OSP, and I would say firing him was warranted. But how you turn around and then put him right back in, started letting him go and audit other prisons. You fail at yours, but you're going to go look at others and tell them what they're doing wrong. It's kind of amazing. And now he's worked his way back up to the top. Yeah, that's.
Yeah, I can't think of that guy's name. It's not Sharp. I can't think of it. So, are you just apologizing for that now, or are you going to send out a retraction?
No, I ain't gonna send out a retraction because it's already out there. But I'm gonna say publicly that I got that wrong because he was a correctional officer.
Well, JJ, that might be the first mistake you made in a long time.
Bob, I try very hard to make sure that we put the correct information. Well,
JJ,
really, Bob, no joking. You know what? Me and you have come out and made some allegations, and we have announced and we have called out some big things, and they've never been able to go after us and get us because guess what? We verify the things that we say, so it is important for us to be correct.
Right. Well, we don't lie or we don't try, but you don't have to really with the things they do. You don't have to lie.
Bob, I can't keep up. How about you? Do you even know how many people died in the department this week?
Alan Campbell, I couldn't tell you whether it's three or five.
I think there's three at Alan Campbell. I think there was one at Lexington, and I think did the guy die at OSP or did he was?
Yeah, I think he died. Well, the one at Lexington, I think was he was older, and he just worked himself to death. Is what he did.
Right.
Then he passed away, and very everybody liked him. I don't know him particularly, but I've just heard a lot about him. Very well liked. But JJ, I tell you, I've been doing this not as long as you have, but I would say been doing really involved since 2013, 2012 when I got really involved. But all the other times I had a lot of guys that I knew that worked at the prison and heard a lot of stuff about it. So I've known, but nothing like what I know now. But I have never seen officers throughout the field, throughout the state, scared, afraid with the policies they're changing and doing, it's making it more dangerous. And then the guys at Jackie Brannon are being forced. Imagine this: forced to go to work at OSP, or you're fired. They say they'll charge you with discipline, and they didn't use the word fired, but it meant the same thing. But the thing that really got me, when I've had several officers call me about this town hall meeting that Tommy Sharp put on, is that they were complaining about things, and then they told them, or Sharp told them, well, if you don't like it, just quit. Just quit. But what kind of a supervisor tells his employees that?
Well, here's the really shocking part, Bob. We talked about this for heck, I mean 4 or 5 years. Biggest problem department's got, overwhelming, massive, biggest problem looking at them is their ability to retain staff. So their staff shortage. They have a massive staff shortage. And that is what's behind all your violence. That's what's behind all your drugs, phones, all of the stuff. That's what's behind it. Now, what do? You got a shortage, and you walk into a town hall with your officers. And what do? Y'all either do what we say, shut the hell up and go over and do that, or we'll fire you. You can go home.
Yeah.
Now, guess what? I've heard a couple of them have decided to go home. You know what?
Well, I think Brandon's going to lose 3 people this week, and more down the line. But they say that there's 500 inmates at Jackie Brannon, and at night they have 4 officers, all females. And according to what I hear, is that makes it even more dangerous when they do that, and the word gets around that the only women are there, that the inmates take advantage. And if they call for help, it would take, how long do you take? 30 minutes or more to get over there from OSP?
Yeah, just according to what you got sitting around. The problem is you gotta think, how many people does OSP? We have a shortage in OSP. That's why we're pulling from Jackie Brannon. So now you got a shortage. How you gonna get over here? Because you still have a shortage. If you pull, it's gonna leave a shortage over here. It's insane. They are insanely understaffed.
And another thing is, I very seldom hear from the nurses. Don't hear much out of the nurses. But I had a call yesterday from the nurses, and the RN was telling me that she has to wait for her next person to come in. She has to wait for them. Well, if they're late, she can't leave out of there till they show up. Does she get overtime? No. No, she's forced to wait on them.
Yeah.
And
So she's getting overtime.
I don't think they get away with not paying you when you're there working.
She's getting overtime, but she ain't getting paid. And again, that's a violation of federal labor standards. They violate.
That needs to be, the feds need to get in on that.
Well, Bob, this is how you know you got a problem. I know most of these prisons. I've worked around them 20 plus years, 28 years or so. And if you come down here to Howard and McLeod, guess what? You used to have family, entire families. They'd have their brother over here,
Right.
Wife and their kids would come to work there. And you just had a history of those families. And it wouldn't just be one, it'd be several. And they were pretty tight knit communities, you know what I'm saying? And most of these prisons were kind of like that. Right now, you got, I know of a dad that's told his son, do not go to work there. I know of another one that said, hey, you need to quit. Talking to his son, get out. Get out while you're young. Get out while you're young. Don't stay here. And they're worried that they're going to get killed in there. They're worried. That's the level. These are people who worked in there, 18, 19, 20 years.
Well, look at the guy who was just stabbed. That incident there where the one officer was walking two inmates. I don't know where they were going, whether they're going to the showers or going to the yard, but they quit handcuffing them and shackling them, and that makes it even more dangerous. And the way I understand the story, and I've heard it from several different people, that you can correct me if you're wrong because you probably heard it. Yeah, I know you've heard it as well. That the one inmate saw the other inmate get ready to stab the correction officer. He pushed the correction officer down and he got stabbed. Now, I don't know if they want that out, if that's dangerous for that inmate at the prison. I don't know. But that's the story that's out. But you can't, you try to verify it with DOC, they won't tell us anything. And what they do tell us is generally a lie.
Oh, they lie. Bob, I've never seen the level of cover up, whether it's changing the ops, whether it's changing, stopping the reports that go out, not telling reporters, not adhering to open records. You name it, they are doing it. Whether it's breaking the law, whether it's telling maintenance people to sign off on documents that are untrue. You can just go down the list, man. The biggest one, Bob. Now I know you had to hear this, and I had heard that story that inmate stepped in and saved that officer. And man, I don't know what you can do, to recognize that inmate or what you need to do, but that's a big deal. And so, anyways, I heard this week that one of the guys that was there at Allen Gamble had actually OD'd. They said he had OD'd, and they sent him a medical examiner. And the medical examiner got up there and said, "No, I think these stab wounds are the cause of death." They said that they really felt like that contributed more than the drugs, was the stab wounds. And Bob, I mean, how in the world can that's what they're doing. That, officers get assaulted, they don't even want to report it. It's not even on. It didn't happen because they didn't report it, And again, here they're trying to cover up a murder by calling it an OD because they don't need another murder at Allen Gamble because the gig's out. People are starting to realize, and I think there's lots of people looking into because we put the target on Allen Gamble. I've been out there hollering. Let's look at this one prison. Look at this one prison. See how many people died at that one prison.
Was it three? Was it three this week?
This week it's been three that I know of. One of them was that OD that they said. They had another one yesterday, and that may be an actual OD. My understanding was a couple of inmates carried him down there to the medical, and he set up once and then just fell over dead. Is what I was told.
Well, now I'm told too. I thought there for a while that drugs were clearing up. They were trying, it was slowing down. But I'm hearing now that it's worse than it's ever been. It just keeps getting worse.
Bob, I got 2 or 3 people writing me this morning saying, "Hey, if you don't get this person out of there, they're going to be dead." And I'm going to go ahead and say it. I hope the director watches this. Director, there's a guy named Luke House in there, and I know y'all been told 100 times that young man is in danger, serious danger. My understanding, he's been beat up. He's been, assaulted on several different ways, and y'all are doing absolutely nothing to move him. Bob, let me give you an example of stuff I'm talking about. I was told last night at OSP or yesterday at OSP, they had 2 inmates getting a heck of a fight. Is what I heard. They had called medical down there to check them both out. Guess what they did with both of them?
What did they do?
Put them back in the same cell.
Really?
Now, Bob, I mean, when I was working, if you had something like that, you wouldn't even leave them on the same yard. One of them would have to go. And now you're having them assault each other, bad enough that the medical has to be called, and then you put them right back in the same cell together. What? You patching them up? I guess it's kind of like going to boxing. Y'all get in the corner. We're gonna have the doctors look at you, and then boom, boom, round two. We're gonna put you back in that cell, see which one kills the other.
Okay, listen to this. The prison model is shifting as artificial intelligence adoption accelerates, and Oklahoma Department of Corrections Executive Director Stephen Harpe wants to position AI as a strategic level to transform operations. Now, he's going to start doing this when he's got all these other problems. He hasn't even corrected the drugs coming into the prison. He hasn't corrected how many people are getting killed in the prison. So he's off on a tangent on this. Now, is this just a way to change the focus, trying to get the focus away from how bad the prison are, how many people are getting killed?
Well, so one, he's going to use this as a solution. And Bob, I think AI is it's scary. I mean, it's scary, but no question, it can make decisions quicker. It can have influence. There's no question AI could be used in corrections. But here's the problem. You ain't worked it out. AI is not worked out in the prison setting yet. Okay. So what he's talking about, he's going to do an experimental project. Now, if you had your prisons up and running and you weren't having any problem, experimental projects would be great. I would say would be add that in there, see how good we can do. See if it can take the place of an officer or two and add on. But when you have a complete disaster, this man he's so incompetent, it's unreal. You have a complete disaster across the whole, it ain't one prison, it's the whole Department of Corrections. He's a disaster. You're a disaster, Mr. Harpe. Here's the deal. Then you're going to come in with this new technology that costs how much? How much does it cost, Mr. Harpe? Because you know it ain't cheap. And then how are you going to implement that? And again, if he does it, if he pulls it off, I guess then we'll call him a genius. But I don't see how it's going to be done. I don't see, again, that thing can assist, but it's not going to protect the place of officers. It's not right now.
Well, I guess, I kind of applaud him because he is a technology guy and he does a good job on that. And he's taking this, trying to make something different happen. But I'm like you got to get this straightened up before you start into something else. I mean, I don't think he thinks a lot of correctional officers, whether they get hurt, whether they get killed. I don't think he cares. And he certainly doesn't care about the inmates, but he won't acts like he cares. Because if he cared, we wouldn't be losing so many inmates.
Well, Bob,
I bet you we're set a record in the state of Oklahoma. Will set a record in the nation as the most deaths in a prison in the United States for 1 year.
Yeah, and he's saying to build a stronger Oklahoma by transforming lives in a safe, rehabilitative, and compassionate environment. Bob, is it compassion when you let two men beat the hell out of each other and then stick them back in the same cell to let them go at it again? That ain't compassion.
What they did to that one kid that the lawsuit's over?
Yeah.
Put him into a cell with a guy twice his size that was meaner than crap, and he got killed the very day he was there. He got killed.
Look at the pictures of him. Look at the pictures of Marquell Ross and say that looks like compassion to me. There's your compassionate, safe environment. And if it was only one, we could say, well, it's prisons and stuff like it happened. But guess what? They just had one at Jim Hamilton beat like that, same thing. Then we had one over at Allen Gamble beat like that, same thing. We've showed videos of guy getting beat and on YouTube and having them tattoo stuff on their head. This is not something that just happened today. This has been going on, and it's more and more out of control. And again, kudos. I like the idea of using technology, researching technology. I'm all for that. I applaud that. I'm like you are. I think we're both on same page here. But golly, you got to take care of what's today, not look down the road 18 months. We might get this thing straightened out, and only another 180 or 200 people have to die before we get this straightened out.
Well, now I'm hearing too that the shot callers are running again. I've heard this.
Oh, I don't think they've ever. Bob, we had a little. So everybody knows there's 5 or 6 of us that are on a chain group text, and all of these guys are very, very knowledgeable about corrections. We have wardens there, we have captains, and we have correctional officers, chief securities on this line. All of them retired. All of us very still watch the Department of Corrections. All of us have people that call us and tell us what's going on. And we were having a discussion the other night. What's kept these prisons from blowing up and having a full scale, what you call a full scale riot? I believe we are in a riot. I believe we've lost control of the entire department, and that we've seen a total loss of control, and inmates are running the show for the last 2 years. I believe that. But you haven't seen where they massively, completely take over, where the state has to come in to try to retake the prison. You haven't seen that, because they've managed just to let the prisoners take over and them sit out here and go, oh no, everything's fine. Everything's fine. Cover up all these murders, cover up the assaults. And again, they're broke. Bob, when you talk to these warehouse people, and again, I'm talking to them all over the state where they're trying to order stuff and they can't order. You know what I'm saying? I talked to one the other day in the top level talking about they're having to cut back orders, cut back this, cut back that. Top level telling me that.
When is their budget? Is it July?
Yeah, they'll have gotten their budget by now. They'll know what their budget is, but it goes in effect, I think, July 31st. It's either June 30th or July 31st, I think, something like that. But they're right at where you start all over. But again, Bob, I mean, I talked to some people there at OSP, and they talk about one of the units that when it rains, they had to get these trash cans, these metal trash cans, and go in there.
One of the new units they opened up.
Yeah, and then I'm told their kitchen, the ceiling's falling in. Here's the deal, Bob. They're doing no maintenance. They're doing no keep. They're not putting back into prisons. And that's what you got to do. You got to maintain these prisons. You got to keep them up to a level.
Like a car.
We get something like, and I think that was a set up deal. I think that Williams Keys out there, around Woodward,
Yeah.
I think that was just, a set up deal. They wanted to get away from that prison. I don't think it was in that bad a shape, talking to people who were there. But then they come back and say, well, it'd take $40 million to get it up to speed. Well, that's a hell of a lot cheaper than 312. You know what I'm saying?
Well, if they said 40 million, you got to divide that, and it's probably be maybe 10 million.
Yeah, I mean, that's they going to, and that's what they did. That they went in there and said, hey, this building's falling down. Well, y'all ain't used that building in 20 years.
But the biggest thing they've done, and how the legislature is not doing something about it or doing nothing, is he knew this contract was coming up at Lawton.
Oh, absolutely, they knew it.
And what they do? What did they tell everybody?
Nothing. Not a thing. Because guess what? It was a set-up deal. Bob, I started hollering that probably 6 months
I know you did.
Before it happened. I was like, let me put on my prophecy hat.
January.
And let me tell y'all what's going to happen, because it can't happen any other way. They're at 6 months into it, it was too late. Bob, if they would have started the day they made that contract, and if you remember, that contract was pretty heated. They called each other, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Pretty heated. They managed to get a year contract. You know that in a year you're going to have something. If they had started right then, it would seem unlikely that they would be able to have a prison ready. You know what I'm saying? A prison built. So guess what? It's a setup deal. They knew that deal was made a year earlier. That deal was done, made 1 year earlier. And anybody ain't got the eyes to see that. Just and again,
They,
that
they put it to the fact that we got to do this. We got to do this, and they got that 300 and what $12 million.
yeah, there wasn't no choice. They did have to do it because they got set up. They got played. And again, that playing started a year earlier with the governor. It started with Harpe. Guess what? It was all set up deal. In my opinion, it was all a set up deal because there wasn't no other way. I mean, they could have went out and maybe found another prison to lease. I'm not sure where Watonga is. I kept hearing we might go to Watonga, but again, you know what I'm saying? It was a setup deal. And again, Bob, while we're talking about Lawton, look at Allen Gamble. Allen Gamble is a private facility that we purchased, and look at what's happened since we purchased it.
And they don't have enough people. They're way short of people.
Yeah, and a lot of people left. They left. They didn't want to work for the Department of Corrections. Well, guess what? I suspect that may be the same thing at Lawton. And look at what's happened at Allen Gamble. And I think Lawton has the potential because guess what? You've seen Allen Gamble and Lawton be kind of on the same, level for, Dick Connors. What's the other one? Great Plains. They've all been at a pretty close race on who's been the worst at times. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And Lawton generally has, I would say Allen Gamble's worst by far right now.
Oh, absolutely.
But Lawton has a potential to be way worse than Allen Gamble because they have more inmates. They've dumped mental health inmates on them. Again, how many people leave? That's going to be the question. What are they left with? And then again, to put them under this mismanagement, you know what I'm saying? I mean, you got a bunch of people who know absolutely nothing about managing prisons, and it shows. It shows, and you're going to put them over this facility. Guess what? It's a recipe for disaster. It's a recipe for disaster, Bob. And I'm sitting back going, what's going to happen?
Really, Jim Ferris, the warden at Lawton, he's really a pretty good warden.
I'm going to tell you something. When you watch the prisons that he went into, he could go into a prison that had a lot of problems. And again, I know there's people think he's kind of a tush hog a little bit, but I think it takes a little bit of tush hog. You know what I'm saying? I think it kind of takes that to say, hey, we're going to do things our way, and we're going to make sure that we do it professional. We do it, the way it needs to be. But when you look at, paint and he'll go to cleaning up the place. That's when he took over OSP. They had raccoons and they had varmints and mice and rats. It was bad. And guess what? He come in there and said, and I know this for a fact since he's gone. I can say this. Jim called me and said, "Hey, I need help." And I said, "What you need?" "We need some money to exterminate all these rodents and stuff." And guess what? We got him money and got that done.
Is Jim no longer at Lawton?
No, I think he went to another private prison in another state. I think he.
I didn't know that. So we haven't taken it over yet, have we?
Huh?
We don't take it over till the end of the month. Is that not right?
I think it's the end of the month when we take it over, but I think he's already left.
Who is the warden there now?
I don't know who they're going to put. I've heard lots of names, but I don't know.
Well, they couldn't be the states until the 30th, so it has to be somebody from.
Well, they might go ahead and put somebody in there and transition. You know what I'm saying? Transition.
That would be up to them. Well, have you heard anything about these private prisons pay more money than DLC? And when we take these private prisons on, and then the correctional officers continue, they get to keep their same money.
I hadn't heard that, Bob. That was a new one on me. I wasn't aware of that.
Well, that's what I'm hearing. That they pay more, and that the two prisons they're getting more than if we put a guard in there, a CO in there from Oklahoma, he's working side by side with the guy that's making more money. Now, I don't know if it's true, but you can't, unfortunately, we can't verify it with the dadgum
DOC, yeah.
DOC because they keep everything so secret and won't talk about anything, violate the open meetings and open records.
Well, Bob, I find it strange because I would have thought people would have rather worked for the prison. It's more when you think about it, you think, well, it's more secure. You got to bet you would think your retirement, your health benefits, and all that would be better than a private company. That's generally the drawing card that the state has.
Now they do have good benefits.
Listen, the state, when I worked there, Bob, everybody out there would have told you, come to work for DOC. It's an awesome place to work. You know what I'm saying? You had your benefits, you had your retirement. They had another 401k you could pay into. Man, people treated you right. There was promotion. I mean, it was limitless where you wanted to go, especially if you were willing to travel. Harpe made a big issue out of me not promoting. He lied. I did promote 5 times, but I promoted as high as you could in the place that I was at. And if I'd wanted to promote more, then I would have had to leave and to go somewhere else. And here's the problem: if you're married and your wife has got a really, really good job, for you to pull off and go somewhere else, you're not only, you're going to increase $200 or $300, but you're going to lose a $3,000 salary. Now, who's going to do that? And then if you own land and cattle like I did, guess what? I didn't want to move because I had a pretty good thing sitting right here.
Well, JJ,
big issue.
I can remember going back when I used to go to the prisons all the time. And when you went to OSP, those guys were proud that they worked there.
Oh, absolutely.
That was they in the.
In fact, they always thought they was a little bit higher. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
a little bit tougher. They're a little bit badder because they worked in OSP, and there was always that. But there was still camaraderie. I would go up. I went to OSP with them. I was trying to think the other day. They had a cell called the Rock in there, and we got overcrowded, and they had to open up the Rock, and they needed people to go work. And they told me, "Hey, you're gonna go up there and work for the." And I was a probation officer, but I'd always say, "I don't care. I'd like to go up there for a little bit, change pace."
I can remember when it was Deputy Warden Pettigrew. We went on a tour of the place, about my 10th tour, and but you seen and talked to those guys were proud, and Joseph Harpe was the premier prison in the world. It was always everybody talked about Joseph Harpe. Everybody wanted to get transferred to Joseph Harpe.
Bob, we had the underground prison, one of the first built right there at OSP. You know what I'm saying? We had, when I was there, if they had an escape, didn't matter whether it's prison. I mean, if they had a jail escape, if they had somebody that they were chasing, jumped out of a car and took off, guess who they're calling? They were calling us because we had the dogs, we had the training, we had the equipment. We were the people to call. If they had a riot at jail, I remember McAllister had a riot at jail. Guess who they're calling? They're calling OSP.
Talking about that, I was watching the news. I can't remember when, but it showed the dog at an airport sniffing, going around and finding drugs.
Right.
Why can't we have that at our prisons? We don't even have anybody on the doors at most prisons that people check in and check themselves in.
Well, Bob, they got a couple, I'm sure, but again, why don't they have one at every prison? Have somebody being trained. They used to, Bob. Every prison had a dog man. They had and what's funny, I used to train with our dog man, and I laughed. That sucker could run, and he run, boy. I mean, it's like he's jumping almost. He run like that, and I was young, so they put me out in front and go with him and get trained, and I actually went out on some real manhunts, and we did track people down and run people down, and I guess I ought not say it, but it's really quite fun to get out there behind them dogs and chase people. But you know, Bob, we were trained. I mean, when the Oklahoma City bombing happened, Bob, I was called that quick. Guess what? Away we go. And we're super trained. They sent me to Arizona through an academy. I was talking the other day, went through 5 academies, Bob. And that's who they were. We were super trained. We had personnel. It was a great place.
You're talking about training. Okay, let's go back. You're talking about training. Now, the people at Jackie Brannon aren't trained to work at OSP, those type of people, but they send them over there anyway.
Right.
And they think having them work one day with somebody that's training. That's all they need.
Well, Bob, and here's the difference. Like I was talking about when they sent me up to the Rock, I'd worked at a minimum security. I'd worked as a probation officer. I'd been in the prison, OSP, to haul people up there. I'd helped search. I was on the search team. We did some searches at OSP. You know, pretty interesting. But I'd never kind of worked in there until I went up there 2 or 3 times like this that I'm talking about. But the difference is they had a lot of staff. Yes, we were overcrowding. Yes, they were putting this area in, but we still had a lot of staff. We had about 2,000 people then. And so you're not working out there by yourself. You're with these guys. Really, I was just kind of their grunt, their runner, you know, hey, go get me this, or what do you need? That's kind of, but it was great experience. I wouldn't trade it. I would not trade it. I had great experience.
Well, how would you like to be a employee with Jackie Brannon? You worked there for 5 years, enjoyed your job, good attitude, and then you're told you got to go to work at OSP. Now you hired on at Jackie Brannon. That's where you asked to go, and that's where they put you. But no, they say that we can put you anywhere we want. We don't. It didn't matter what you had down on where you're going to go to work at Jackie Brannon. That's where you want. We can put you anywhere. And then to think, just think about what kind of sleep you're getting when you know you're going to go over there to OSP when someone's killed once a week, whether it's and there's a fight constantly, rapes. I hear people say they hear calling on rapes all the time over their radio.
Right.
So you got a whole different place to work, and it's either go there or lose your job.
Well, Bob, and the thing about it is, they're not going there and being put with 5 or 6 other people who know what they're doing.
No.
There's a good chance they're going to be stuck in there by themselves or with just one other person and not know what the crap they're doing, not know how things, not know the inmates, not know the prison, not know nothing, just drop you in there and say, good luck. You know, it's not a good situation.
It's a terrible situation.
You can understand why people
put people in that type of an environment when you're having to force them, threaten them that you're going to go over there or you're going to get fired.
Well, when you become that kind of atmosphere, when you become that, and they want to know why they can't hire people, let me tell you exactly why you can't hire. Your best recruiter, your very, very best recruiter is not a commercial. It's not a sign. It's that person that's employed by you. Them going out in the community going, man, it's a great place to work. You got benefits. You got, you know, retirement. You can get a second retirement. You know, this is a great place to work. People treat you fairly, all that. Now, Bob, when I went to work, guess what? You had to pull some politics to get in. Because, I mean, it was
I remember that.
It was tough to get in. Everybody wanted that job. You'd have one job come up. Guess what? I interned down there, and I had to wait 3 times to get a job because first time it's the captain's good friend. Second time we had a legislator's brother. And third time I finally got hired, and I had some political help as well. But my political help wasn't. It took me a third time Lucky Charms to get in. And again, I had a college degree, and guess what? I came in as a correctional officer. So,
hey, JJ, I want to change the subject completely off everything out. But your son is a police officer, and today, what's happening today?
So as soon as we get done, I'm going to go in and get ready, and we're headed up to Ada to see cleat graduation, cleat graduation, and you know that we're going to get to see him do that today. He goes to work for the Toka Police Department, and that's pretty big deal, you know. And then I got one coming up for the Army at middle of August, I think. I've got one graduating boot camp there at Fort Leonard in Missouri. So I got two, and then I got one.
Missouri now.
Yeah.
Where's Fort Leonard at?
Fort Leonard Wood is about 2 hours out of St. Louis and about 2 hours out of Joplin.
How about from Branson?
Yeah, in between the two. So he's going to be graduating, and then
Well,
I got
what is it when you're graduating from a cleat? What does that consist of?
Bob, they had to go in and they had to do self-defense. They had to do vehicle, learn to drive vehicles. They had to do their shooting. And again, just a whole lot of other block kind of, it's a 16-week course. In the past, cleat's been pretty laid back. My understanding is they went a lot tougher. I have mixed feelings about that. I think you can't push that too far. I think they went a little bit over the board with trying to make it more like a trooper academy. And so again, I hope that we can straighten some of that out, but it's a good program, and it's you know, there's talk about taking it over with technology, because if you went to technology centers, they could teach all that, you know. And again, Bob, that's one of the things that used to, we had cleat certification for a lot of the officers out there at corrections, you know what I mean? And now, of course, it's questionable if you train them on I think they've tried to start back doing the cleat thing, but you get them trained on cleat and they can go anywhere they want and go to work. So you lose a lot of people. So there's a lot of big issues as whether correctional officers ought to be cleat certified.
So your son pretty much is following in your footsteps.
Yeah, he's got a little different path. He's not going down the DOC. I laughed. He come in yesterday, report they had a high-speed chase from Caney to Stringtown, is what I understood from him. And it sounded like the possible police chief of Stringtown, from what I heard, may have got fentanyl poisoning. And so apparently they were chasing this car and got in there. I don't know how he came in contact with the fentanyl. I guess it's in the car. But anyways, he ended up having to go to the hospital with that fentanyl. And Bob, that's another thing that we haven't really discussed, you know, greatly in these prisons. Look at all the people dying from fentanyl. Look at all the ODs. And then our officers are handling that. I am amazed that we haven't had more problems, more, you know, death situations with our officers with that fentanyl and stuff. I suppose they've been trained to absolutely wear their gloves and stuff like that when they're doing these things. But again, when you're talking about
it's growing into the facilities rather than shrinking into the facilities.
Well, Bob, you know, again, we go back to talking about my kid, and I'm tickled to death. I get to go watch him today. But here's the deal: training. When I was there, man, we were trained, and I'm not just saying this because it's me. I was trained like you wouldn't believe, and I will tell you this: if you're around me and I'm investigating something, you will start seeing that. Hey, nope, you got to have this, you got to have this, you got to have this. If you're around me and you're talking about correction, and I'll start asking, what about this? What about this? Did you do this? I have been trained in all of that for years and years and years, and it just kicks in. It just kicks in like that. And that's where we're missing. We're not getting the training. We're not being professional. What we're seeing is people die. We're seeing people raped, and we're seeing the employees going, hey, this is not a great place to work. Then we're seeing an administration that never done it, doesn't know how to do it, that is not trained, couldn't train if they want to. And guess what? They're coming down and saying, you're going to do it. I put in there today, and this was not a mistake. So if y'all read our little deal today, what we put out, I changed the word from director to dictator. And again, that's what I see. I see a dictator. I don't see a director. I don't see somebody coming down and showing you how to do it. I see somebody up here telling you what to do that they know absolutely nothing about. He knows absolutely. He flies around the nation in his little green uniform, acting like he's the most experienced, most premier individual. Why in the world would anybody want him to talk about corrections? The guy knows absolutely nothing, and he's got the biggest disaster at home. But guess what? They're having him fly all over the United States, or at least that's what he's saying. I don't know. Maybe they are. Maybe they
Well,
ain't.
on the AI, it's that's good that he's doing that. That's a good thing. It's not all bad,
No,
but
I'll give him credit. Bob, give credit where credit's due. I think looking to the future, looking what AI can do, trying to come up with ways. If they want him to go speak on that, now I don't know that he's a premier person. What have we done here? What's he got to speak on? I don't know, but regardless, the fact that he's trying to get that, I don't think that's a negative. I think both me and you, you know, I think we both agree on that. That's a good deal. I take my hat off to him for working on that. It's just don't let the whole place burn down while you're over here. Oh, gee, we got some really cool stuff that may come up in 18 months. Man, this is cool. This is going to be great. And again, have you implemented it anywhere? Are they working on this anywhere? If they do, what can it do, and how is that going to replace?
but it's also taking the pressure off of him of all the killing going on. Everything's going on when you start seeing press releases like this and all these new things. Oh, Harp's doing really good, blah blah blah. But he's taken away. But all the killings that's happening in our prisons, even though a guy's an inmate, he's done things wrong. He's still a human being.
Hey, Bob, look at this officer's life. They ain't all bad. Uh, And here's the deal. Yeah, there's probably 10%, maybe even 20% of the prison population that, hey, I hope they never get out. They need to be in there. They're bad folks. They're evil folks. Leave them in there. But most, I would say 80% to maybe even 90% of the Department of Corrections inmates are going to be out, and they're going to be living by us. What are we doing to get them ready to come out of that prison and become productive citizens? And I can tell you right now, all we're doing is traumatizing them, getting them to where they know how to use a shank, make their own shanks. You want to tell the experience of prison, that's what you're going to have. It's not technology school. It's not training. It's not rehabilitative services. And again, I'm not saying that we need to make everything plush and nice, and prison needs to be, color TV and steak and all that. I'm not saying that. But what I am saying is that if you want to look at the numbers, if you get a person trained for employment, if you get them trained for employment and you can get them a credible, life sustaining wage, guess what? You're 66% less likely to see that individual back. 66%. Bob, that's awesome numbers. Then why are we not? I'm all for AI, but guess what? 66% says if we'll put our money in this, we're going to be pretty successful. What are they doing on that? Have you heard? I mean, he makes really great statements. We're going to have a great environment. We're going to have a rehabilitative. Then what are you doing? Because I've seen him do Zippo for safety and security and healthy environment. Guess what? I got pictures on my phone right now. Some of the bathrooms at a place. I think it's Dick Connors. I'd have to go back and look. Bob, I mean, nasty, nasty, nasty. These bathrooms. How in the world? Because when I worked, I mean, that was the whole deal. You were responsible. If I had a unit, if I was running a unit, then that unit was me. And we were going to bleach them showers. We're going to bleach the commodes around them. I'm going to have a couple of orderlies, and them orderlies ain't going to sit around all day. They're going to be in there waxing that floor, mopping that floor. We're going to hold inmates responsible for their cubicle. Guess what? You're going to get rolled up if that's not. We're going to clean, and you're going to get this much wax, and you're going to wax that floor. And when you come into a unit like I had, guess what? I took pride in who, that was my unit. We're going to look good, and I'm going to try to outlook. I'm going to look better than all the other units. That's who I was. Guess what? They were the same way. You walked in that place, it's going to shine. And if we get a call, hey, big week's coming down, put a shine on it. We didn't have to go back and do a whole bunch of stuff, but we'd hit a shine and we'd look pretty good. We'd clean up, make sure, but we didn't have to go back and order 50 buckets of paint to you know what I'm saying, to get ready for them. We were ready, and we were like that all the time, because that's what you were trained to do. That's what you were. And that's the way the whole prison ran, Bob.
Well, that's when we had staffing. We don't have the staffing today.
We had staffing, we had training. Like I say, that's the way it should be.
But here's the thing. Here's the thing that gets me. The state gives them a budget to hire people. He has so much money to hire COs. We're probably down to 800 COs, where we've been having 1,800 to 2,000. Is that correct?
Right.
So you're taking all that money, and he's figured out that, hey, it's cheaper for us to work these guys overtime than to go hire new people. We can work them. He's working 12 hours. Now let's let him work 16 hours. And that saves them money. But he's not thinking about what he's doing to the person.
Well, here's the deal, Bob. You got to put so much money into upkeep. You got to put so much money into upkeep. You got to put so much money into employees. You got to put so much money in training. You got to put so much money in food. And then you got like products like toilet paper and all of that kind of stuff you had to put money into. There's your budget. That's what you do. Anything extra, you can go to AI, you can go fly around, do whatever you want. Now, the question is, I'm sitting here looking at a report that was put out 11/29 of 05. So in 2005, you went back, we had roughly 2,000 officers, 1,900 to 2,000. But yet we had, this said, while Jones will be managing. So this is right when Justin Jones came in and took over. I was still working then. We had a $400 million annual budget. $400 million. Now, we had 2,000 officers. Guess what? They'd be lucky. They say 1,200. I'd say probably more like 1,000. But guess what? You're talking about 800 officers less, Bob. We're not having training. They don't do training. They cut all their rehabilitative services. So where's all their money going? I mean, you know what I'm saying? We have 200 million now more. I admit it'll take more money now. We know things cost more. But where is all their money going? 800 at 60,000. Bob, most likely it's a salary of about 60,000 now. The minimum salary of an officer, starting salary probably 60. If you times that times 800, Bob, that's $48 million right there. That's $48 million that they don't have.
The budget today is $600 million, isn't it?
Yeah, it's roughly about six. It's 500 something.
$500 million.
So where's their money going? Because they ain't doing half the services. They ain't doing half the training. They don't have half the officers. Where's the money?
Shortage of medical, way shortage of medical.
Everything you look at is a shortage, Bob. Where is their money going? It's unbelievable. And, I know he's spending some money on travel, but he ain't spending no $48 million on travel. Where's the money going? And again, that's why they should do an outside audit. I suspect there's some pretty hinky stuff going on. I like
they need an outside audit, but they need an outside investigation too. They don't need to investigate themselves. That's just the funniest thing you've ever heard, is they investigate themselves.
Well, and the problem is, Bob, when you see an audit, if they call for an audit takes 2-3 years. 2 or 3 years. If you ain't fixed the problem, what good is an audit? I mean, it's worthless. If you're gonna go 2 years, they've stole money from us for 2 more years, and guess what? We're broke. It's insane.
We got 2 minutes, so I'll just leave it up to you two. I know you can talk straight 2 minutes without anything.
I don't know if I can handle 2 minutes. Bob, here's what I'm saying is that we have watched this thing go downhill for 3 years. We have watched it go downhill. And I'm going to give Harp this. He didn't start at a great place. Things were pretty bad. I do believe that the prior director, Director Crow, actually did care about employees and actually did try to help people. And so I think he was trying to improve things. But when we seen Harp come in, I'm not sure that Harp ever intended to. I mean, from what I've seen of Harp, he has been negative from the day go. Everything I'm going to do, and we don't care about people. We don't care about how it affects people. This is what we're going to do. He has not got rid of the overbloated administration. He has run off more people at the bottom of, the boots on the ground officers. It appears he's trying to run off people with management experience or long-term experience. So those captains, those lieutenants that actually know the policy can debate back with them or say this is wrong. It looks like they're running them off. We have zero experience. We have limited training. We have the inmates running the entire prison. It looks like, and it looks like hell from here on out. And I'm really scared what's going to be happening with Alan Gamble, with OSP, especially Lawton coming on. It looks like a disaster, a recipe for disaster. We're not hearing a whole lot out of Dick Connors right now, but I do hear some. They had some big water problems and some, issues like that they continue. Why would they allow that to continue? That's what we're seeing. All the same problems, no answers, and it looks like it's getting worse from where we're sitting. And we're hearing that from all over, not from one prison, from all over is what I'm being told.
Well, JJ, I appreciate you coming on. I appreciate all the work you do for the correctional officers and the nurses, everybody at DOC, because I know you get a lot of calls as well as I do. But I appreciate all that you do for OCP. But we'll be back here next Friday. If you got any questions, give us a call anytime. And I have to say, God bless you, and we'll move it on. Thank you very